everyone, and welcome to the Jeff Bullis Show. Today I have with me Matt Swalley. Now, Matt is co-founder of a company called Omneky. Now, Omneky is a very interesting product and platform, and we're going to dive into that later. But just a little bit about Matt before we actually start chatting about what he's doing. So, Matt is the co-founder and chief business officer of Omnikey, an AI marketing platform that generates and optimizes personalized ad creatives to increase sales across all digital touchpoints. Powered by OpenAI's ChatGPT or GPT-3 and DALL-E 2, which I've been playing with as well, and it is fascinating, and their own proprietary algorithms, Omnikey's platform empowers customers to analyze the design preferences of all customers' target audiences and manage thousands of AI-generated ads at scale, I would say, designed to drive conversions for each customer profile. Matt, before he leaped into the void of startup world, spent 13 years in strategic leadership experience at AT&T, where he specialized in corporate strategy, business development, and sales team growth. And as a member of the corporate strategy team, he led various strategic initiatives. And Matt was inspired by what AT&T was doing and checking out and said, I need to go and do a startup myself. Found a co-founder, and here we are today. Welcome to the show, Matt. It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you're doing and at Omnikey.
Jeff, I am so excited to be here, and hello to all the listeners out there. Great introduction. You got the name right, Omnikey.
That's good. So, Matt, you tell us a little bit about how you came to leap into what can be a very scary place of being in a startup as a co-founder, and what led you to step into that. And I'm a bit of a Joseph Campbell fanboy, and obviously you've had a call, okay, just like Star Wars, that call to actually go and do something amazing. So how did this all happen? Tell us a little bit about AT&T and what you were doing there, and then how you came to be a co-founder at Omnikey.
So I started in AT&T in the late 2000s. Those days were the days when you were picking up the phone to make a sale. So a lot of my early days were carrying a bag, making over 25,000 cold calls in my day, meeting with thousands of customers, driving their offices. And then I led sales organizations doing that same thing. We were selling technology applications, mobile applications at the time, like GPS tracking, cell phones, wireline solutions. And I moved all around the country and thought I wanted to take this corporate path, right? So Dallas is AT&T headquarters. I made this goal. I'm going to get to Dallas headquarters, and I'm going to get, climb the ranks and help start making decisions at AT&T someday. So started out in the West Coast and then moved to the Dallas headquarters, where I was a chief of staff for the global business officer that ran the multi-billion-dollar AT&T segment that actually had a team in Australia. We had about a 30-person team in Sydney as well. And so I got some big picture leadership experience there. And during that, I was like, I want to get into corporate strategy. Every decision is made with financial analysis. Of course, it was at that time at AT&T, revenue was at a slight decline. So everything was financially driven. Every single decision, I was like, I'm going to get into corporate strategy, went back and got my MBA, and then was able to do a couple years of actually doing board of directors materials, go-to-market, 5-year outlook. And I started looking at these really cool, innovative companies. Where can we go invest to catch that next billion-dollar wave, right? And it was 2021 at this time when I joined Omnikey, and it was a bullish market. Valuations were crazy. It was you went from 2020, where it was circuit breaker crash, from the US stock market from COVID. And then 2021 was it was the absolute opposite. I was like, I really want to get into a place where I can see growth and be part of that. And so I started looking for a leader that can lead a company to that next step. And Omnikey's goal is to raise an initial public offering at some point. So I found Hikari Senju, who is a Harvard computer science grad, who had already started building Omnikey in 2020, was our first launch of our generative product. He knew AI was going to continue to get better. And the key to using AI was actually data. So you get these inputs from actual performance data, and then you could use that to generate better performing creative. Yep. So I joined Hikari, brought me on as employee number 3, full-time employee number 3. And now we have about 70 total employees and 25 full-time. So
Cool.
yeah.
So it's really fascinating. You talked about data, in other words, to drive financial decisions. And any company now that isn't using data to make a decision whether you lean in or lean back is really doing themselves a disservice. So data is very important. But the other thing that's really exciting is that we are now leaning into excuse me. We are now leaning into a whole new world of AI. And you've mentioned generative AI, and maybe you could explain what generative AI is to our listeners, because I think there's general intelligence AI, and then there's generative AI. Tell us what generative AI means.
Sure. So what generative AI does is it learns from the public domain. It learns from all this information out there. It can go create copy or images or getting close to videos within the next 12 months of what it's learned from what's out there. And it can do it very, very quickly. And what's so exciting about it is that you used to be able to, you can now take the data, like what are the keywords or images or concepts you want to go test, and immediately you can create something that gives you a visually an idea of what you can go do. It's getting better. It's not perfect by any means today, but you can actually, like with a click of a button, go create something.
Yeah, exactly. So you can do that with visual images, and you can also do it with text. And you got DALL-E, DALL-E, and you also got ChatGPT. DALL-E is the visual one, isn't it? And visual AI, generative AI, and ChatGPT is the text-based AI. And they're both generative, aren't they?
Right. Yeah, they're both generative AI. So ChatGPT is the most recent version by OpenAI. They had GPT-3, GPT-2, probably GPT-1 at some point, and it just keeps getting better. You feed it some information, and it's going to write you headlines for ads. It's going to write every aspect of it, and you can just continually go take that and feed it right into an image generator. So before you had to go think of copywriting and then go use it, go design it out on a Canva or a canvas. Today, you can go create the copy and headlines with natural language processing, plug that into image generation. All of a sudden, you have created an ad in less than 30 seconds. It is wild.
Cool. So that is wild. And so is that creating just a static image ad? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Today, it's static images are what you can do. But by next year, there'll be videos, and people are already beta testing different things that you can create certain types of natural language processing videos that's learning from the domain, and it's piecing together in like different formats of ads and video. It's just not full AI yet. It's like in between.
Right. Yes. So, but what we're finding is generative AI, it almost feeds on itself. So almost the growth is accelerating, isn't it?
Right. Every single day, these new open source applications are being used by millions. I think I actually saw ChatGPT was the fastest ever user growth for anything. So all these people are discovering business problems in real time. Like they're figuring out, oh, what can I put in here? What streamlines it? Then they're sharing it and crowdsourcing it to everyone. And then people are building off the business problems. Yeah. Which like I saw one interesting one is some of the natural language processors are not site sourcing where they're getting this data from. And sometimes it can be semi-inaccurate, which is why it's good to have a human in the loop. But someone built a tool that then goes and figures out who the source is for this content that was created. Things like that overnight.
Yeah. Okay. The interesting thing you mentioned there was about the fastest growth platform in history. I'll put a number on that because I've been writing about AI in the last couple of months, and it hit 100 million users in 2 months. It took TikTok 18 months. It took Facebook 5 years. That's to put some perspective on how this has just exploded into human consciousness around the world. For me, when I discovered social media, I was fascinated. And I remember having many conversations around dinner tables saying, why should we bother with social media? So what's going to change the world? Why? And I went, well, because it will. It's connecting the planet. It's almost like connecting the world brain. We can have conversations. Then we had the mobile phone, the smartphone that enabled you to do that, not desk bound, but anywhere, anytime. And everyone became a publisher. So I really think that AI and ChatGPT is the beginning of the most exciting thing to happen in a couple of decades. That's the way I see it. And I believe you guys are obviously thinking the same. So it's exciting times. I've lived through many technology bumps or shifts. I started in the technology industry with PCs started turning up instead of mini computers and mainframes. And I was excited then. I won't tell you how long ago that was because that would reveal my age, but it's a long time ago. So, yeah. Matt, so talk to me a little bit about where did the idea come from to work in this particular niche? And then the next question I want to ask is, tell us a bit more about the OpenAI, how you can plug into it, because it's basically available to everyone, and we'll get into that. But number one, where did the idea come from to actually play in generative, creative ad production across platforms? Where did the idea come from?
Sure. So our founder, Hikari, his dad is a famous artist in Japan. So he was a Harvard computer science grad, sold his first company. It was an educational technology startup. And he was head of growth at this ed tech company, right? And so he started realizing what performance marketing was and how it can be a growth lever. And his dad was a famous artist in Japan, and his grandfather was an IBM executive. So he combined this design and art with tech. Like, he saw this vision back in 2018 was actually when he started thinking of the idea of the company. And he started playing around with the data a lot. Like, what insights can you get from the actual advertising platforms, right? There's so many personal information issues with having to keep that within the locked box, but using computer vision was the first technology there. From an analytics standpoint, is you can tag all the different elements of a creative. What's the copy? What's the value prop? What are the colors? All these different elements. And then you can run a regression analysis or an analysis across a huge population or sample of ads and start to make commonalities of why people are clicking, why people are buying, why the platforms are distributing ads. And that was step one of Omnikey. And then step two, as these other generative AI components were getting started, was you can take those inputs like the colors, or knowing that Jeff likes golf, for example, and you can go create these things. Or the copy at the time, as we were using GPT-2, is you could go write copy really, really quickly, show an ad creative in minutes that takes brand assets and copy all on our platform was step two. And then it continued getting better last year. I joined the team in August 2021. And as generative AI kept improving, the good thing about a startup that large companies can't do is we can integrate things so quickly. Like Stability opened up an open API, and we built out the integration over a weekend. And by Monday, our customers were beta testing image generation within our platform. And large companies don't have that flexibility because they have huge regulations. They're worried. They have to worry about so many different things. But that's why startups are so successful, is they can go to market so quickly. And that was really our first image generation. And then now we've partnered with OpenAI. You asked for a number of different integrations, and we'll continue to build that out. But part of the beauty of building our own plus open sources, we can go anywhere we want. As long as there's an open API integration, we can go test whatever products we want and potentially build them in.
Right. So is OpenAI make its access to its platform free? Is that what you're saying? Most of these platforms start as a beta testing, and it's kind of if you're on the list at the beginning and know someone or are connected in the community, you can get on the beta testing. And that was like that cool initial factor when DALL-E got launched, Jeff. I know you heard people, you saw every single person posting on Twitter and everything, like these images they created that first week. And like everyone was like, holy cow. And then more people gain access to it. But you pay, as that product develops, you start paying for usage. They're all usage based. So the more content you create, the more you're going to pay. So as your business scales, it becomes very profitable for those companies. But before that, it's really a cool factor. Right. So anyone can basically get access to it long as they pay for it. Is that correct?
That's right for those. Now, the differentiation. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, keep going.
I was going to say the differentiation is how you can build on top of it, though. Like, how can you continually build out your own technologies that are filtering out this data or bringing in data and then making the tools work better for the end users. That's all I was going to say.
Okay. So in terms of what APIs are you plugging into? How many different generative AI tools are you guys currently plugged into? You've mentioned DALL-E and you've mentioned ChatGPT or OpenAI. Where else are you playing?
We're also using Stability AI from time to time. It's another image generation, and we're testing at least 10 other tools as they go to market. We're testing them. So we recently closed out a funding round at the end of last year. Perfect timing. Hired on some of the best AI data scientists and engineers in the world. So they're testing all these tools, and then we're building our own internal technology as well. Right now, that we're releasing products every month, but we're testing probably 20 different tools right now across copywriting, image, and video creation.
Right.
That we all piece together to streamline the entire creative process and take something that used to take people months down to hours. Right.
Yep.
Our current from onboarding a customer right now to launching a full creative campaign for someone with low brand assets is under 7 days right now. We deliver our first set of creative within 3 to 4 days. That used to take people months.
Right. So, okay, so we've got creative, and you mentioned the fact that you need to plug humans into the process and into the system, because generative AI really, I remember I plugged in a question about, who was the scientist that got ideas by dropping a ball while I'm about to go to sleep. ChatGPT got it wrong. I got Buckminster Fuller, and instead it was actually Edison. So we're going to verify, and I believe, so gets where it gets really interesting. So humans aren't perfect, but they're scaled by machines. So tell us how the process works in terms of where's the human involved in this as opposed to the machine, and I'd be interested in that.
Right. So we have this thing called we have a generation tool that uses these different tools to generate creative, and then we have an approval workflow tool for our customers. So we deliver all the creative on this really easy to use canvas where the customer comes in, or multiple contacts from the customer come in there, they review, they can annotate directly on the creatives themselves for changes. So this is one level of approval, but Omnikey has a human as well, a customer success person that helps manage the account, that goes back and makes sure all this information is accurate. So there's 2 levels. So Omnikey has a level of human overview, and then the customer also has to review everything before it goes live.
Right. Okay. So in other words, they can check the facts going, what's is spat out about our company is actually true. It doesn't get to the essence, whatever it is, whether it's persona or whatever. But so the human gets involved, making sure as a final check, and also in the process to make sure it's accurate as possible.
Yes, and that's a definite necessity today. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. It's pretty scary for younger people in the world right now, right? I mean, they had Google search a couple of years ago. We were able to find information. When I was younger, we would read and we'd have to go write it down and then use a computer but I had to actually go learn everything. So it's kind of scary, how information can get potentially misstrued right now with people just using these tools and then believing what they are.
Yeah. It's almost like I was horrified about 5 or 6 years ago when I got interviewed about young people now getting their news from social media. And I went, you've got to be joking, really. So you believe everything that's on Facebook. I said, that is a scary place to be.
Right.
Guess what? It's been revealed to be true, because people believe everything on Facebook's and then the machine feeds them bullshit and lies.
Similar stuff over and over.
Yeah. And then you get the bad actors go, yay, we can have a lot of fun with this. We can actually take people down rabbit holes because they think Facebook is a god. No, it's not. It's actually run by some good people and some bad people. Any tech's used for good and evil. Dynamite was used to actually do mining, but then it got used in industrial killing. So nuclear power, same deal. So, and everyone's going, oh, we shouldn't be using this because it's going to be used for evil, and going, well, that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater, frankly, isn't it? So, so you're in a very exciting space, because I don't know if you can hear, but I'm slightly excited about the space as well. And my partner's sort of starting to put her fingers in her ears now when I open my mouth, because I'm talking about ChatGPT and AI. So, so currently it's up to 70 employees in just about 18 months, isn't it? I think something like that.
Yep.
And how much funding have you currently raised to accelerate this growth into the next biggest evolution in tech?
We've raised a total of $10 million right now.
Okay, right.
And so we went from a very lean team a year ago where when I took over it was founder-led sales, 100%. He was running the engineering team. Then I took over all the sales. And now we're to a point we have a team of people and starting the steps of scaling.
Right. So what's your target market? I'm interested in that because it's maybe not mar and par, it's more enterprise. Is that correct?
So we have a number of different ideal customer profiles. Right now, we've had the most success with growth stage companies.
Right.
1 million to 100 million in revenue. Companies that have a team, but it's a lean team. Omnikey can be a direct plugin for immediate growth. We can help generate tons of different creative and also pull out insights into what value props are resonating for each of their customers. We've done really well in SaaS, e-commerce, fundraising, actually. So crowdfunding, digital ads to drive people to invest in your company is another vertical we've done well in.
Okay.
And then now we're starting to get some very great enterprise interests. Like this past week, I've met with 5 of the largest companies in the world, which is really exciting. They're starting to come to us with all the generative AI hype.
Right. Okay. So in terms of the pricing product model, are you doing project by project pricing? In other words, or are you doing a subscription-based model? Which way are you leaning, or are you doing both?
So we have 2 different pricing components, and it's really software as a service base. So one is a platform fee that gives you access to the analytics tool. So one thing Omnikey does I didn't mention is we provide a single place to view your performance across all channels. So Meta, Instagram, Google, YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, Quora, LinkedIn. And then with that, you get creative insights like what are we seeing that should impact your results? Like what colors, what video length, things like that. So that's one tool. And then also the generative component. So our customers can go concept test all these different creatives, use the copywriting tool. The second component is a creative as a service subscription. So based on the number of channels that we're doing work for, so like Meta, Instagram's one channel, TikTok would be a second channel, we charge a monthly subscription to deliver you a full set of finished creative ads in multivariate forms. So images, short form video, long form that immediately get launched into the market. And then we're collecting data and iterating every week for the customer. So more of a full service mid-market play.
Okay. So creative as a service, which I've heard of before. So in terms of, because basically any startup's is in 2 races. Number one, there is what we call the technology arms race. And then the other one, because you've got other ones breathing down your neck or nearby or been in the market a while. And then you've got the actual market share arms race, which is a sales race. Where do you think you're playing best, or can you tell me a little bit about both of those and how you're leaning into that?
Yeah. So one of the best parts about Omnikey is, I know you're very familiar with social media marketing, Jeff, is we've been running our own ads and using our own product for a couple of years right now. So right now we are generating a crazy amount of leads from digital marketing plus PR. So we are growing market share through running digital ads and bringing people to Omnikey, running a lean sales team right now, because like I mentioned back in the day, I ran an outbound sales team where we were calling and emailing people. Today, you can run digital ads, reach millions. They come to you, and then you figure out how to further increase conversions down funnel. Like, how do I give a better demo? How do I keep the sale moving forward faster? Like, that's really where we're moving as quickly as possible right now, is fine tuning those other motions and then figuring out who exactly is our ideal customer profile and where should we not stray out because it's distracting us. Yeah.
And here's the thing about marketing is that you can have all the best ideas in the world, how you think the customer's going to react or how much they're going to spend. But when you go to market, the market will either hit you in the face or it'll embrace you. And you can spend a lot of money on advertising and it's just going to continue to be a bottomless void, a money pit. So, but you're selling maybe a higher ticket item, aren't you, in terms of monthly subscription, access to creative resources, humans in the row. So are you constantly analyzing your data to work out what works and what doesn't, so you can make sure that you spend $1 and get $2 back?
Yeah, so that's the beauty of having data that's performance driven in real time. So we're constantly looking at that data. And then also the benefit about a startup is we're very dynamic with our pricing. As we continue to launch product features and stuff, we can move really, really quickly with our pricing. Right now, we are a great price value. I don't know any other company I've seen out there that has a price value of what we offer right now with creative, even a customer success rep, full analytics and generative AI. No one else is in the ballpark for that. Now we're trying to find that right medium of finding as many customers as we can, but also, being a very profitable company.
Right. And also exactly. So you're also trying to find out what is it going to be enterprise? Right. It can chase the bottom end, which are the ones that don't have money, or you can chase the top end, the ones with money. Maybe sits in the middle. But I'll be interested to see how you go over time in terms of where you land, or whether there's 2 or 3 markets. And so, yeah, it's really fascinating in terms of using data to try and work out who's my customer, how much will they pay, what works and what doesn't. And the faster you do it, the faster you learn. So, yeah. So how many, now the other thing I'm curious about is in terms of your team mix, how many of them are technologists or engineers?
Currently we have about 35 engineers, I'd say, out of 70 employees. So it's about, roughly half the employee size is engineers. Yep. And then the other half is sales, customer success, creative. So half. Okay.
So half for each.
Mm-hmm.
So basically you're making sure that you're trying to win the tech race as well as the sales market share race.
That is the most important component, is building an amazing product with technology that can change the world. And, our goal is to be a publicly traded company within 3 to 4 years.
Yep.
That's how we're going to do it.
Okay, cool. So in terms of what's the future for you guys, so are you profitable yet? I suppose not really. You'll still be burning cash, I would say.
So we were before we went through our recent hiring, we were basically profitable. And then, so we were bootstrapped pretty much with very low funding, and we had quite a bit of revenue. Now with our recent fundraise, we're putting it all into that engineering talent and preparing for the next stages of growth. Mm-hmm. So we're putting it all out there to build this company and grow it as fast as possible right now.
Right. Cool.
Next stages is what you mentioned, is the different product sets. So right now we're focused on that mid-market space. We're going to be launching a self-service product for SMBs that doesn't have as much support. It's primarily customers that would be creating the stuff directly on our platform and being able to edit it. And then today it's digital advertising. The next things we have on our roadmap are landing pages and potentially chatbots, because it's so easy to integrate those and they increase conversions.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because generating, so Ray Edwards is the copywriter that I watched his video back in December that let me start to lean into AI, generative AI and ChatGPT, is that ChatGPT can write the copy for your sales page. It can write copy for your emails. Now you're talking about you're combining that with the visual mediums. In other words, feed that text into a DALL-E or a Stably, and then generates an image that suits that as well, which is it's a beautiful intersection of both text and visuals, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So, and I'm fascinated by what can be done. You guys obviously are just doubling down, and having a lot of fun. And sounds like, what, sometimes a startup success can come down to one thing, as long as they're doing everything else right, such as tech, is timing. It appears that your timing might be quite good.
Yes. This is like you said, the best technology in the past couple of decades, potentially. And we're right at the good spot.
Yeah. Exactly. So you could have launched this 10 years ago with the idea that AI was going to do this, and nothing really came out of the box that was able to deliver until 10 years later. So you could have the idea. So the other thing I'm fascinated by, and you've got a science degree background as well, haven't you? I think you did your MBA. Is that correct?
I have an MBA, yeah. So
Yeah.
Master's in Business and Marketing degree.
But you did you do another degree before that in science? Was that as
No,
well?
I didn't.
No. Okay,
No.
right. Okay, all right. So
just to make sure that whatever the question is, I can answer it. No.
Yeah. No. Actually, I completely forgot what the question was now. So yeah, timing becomes almost everything. So a good idea, wrong timing. Slightly not perfect idea, but good timing can be the difference between success and failure. I'd be interested in your thoughts because Google's basically got a code red on its product or code red within the company, and they've dragged back the two co-founders into trying to work out what the threat is to their search engine business, which is only turning over 130 billion a year in revenue.
Yeah.
And Bing is the one that's leaned into OpenAI.
Yeah, the Attitude AI, the one that was saying things that shouldn't really. That's the biggest news on that one. Yeah,
they dropped I think 100 billion in on the share market, but it's okay. I'm sure it's bounced back. Which is it's like pocket change for some of these companies. But so Bing's in beta now with running a search engine that's both driven by AI, which generates longer content, and then they're running the other one, which is generating search. I've signed up for it, but I haven't checked my inbox in Hotmail yet because that's where it is. So to see how what I call the hybrid between a ChatGPT text long form content creation from a question versus verifiable links on the other side. I'd be interested to see what you think about how search is. One, how search impacts what your product development is, or if it does at all. But where do you think the future for maybe search is going to go? Because it's got the potential to upend search as well.
Yeah, it's going to start to take over a lot of that. It's hard we have some great product ideas on this, Jeff, that I really can't share, but we are really we're thinking that exactly out right now. Like, what's the next interface to use these tools to streamline a lot of these different processes you're talking about? Yeah. It's definitely going to change, though.
Yeah. So, and the thing for me is that we've got a lot of very good Google. We've got 1 million inbound links into the blog, which has happened over the last 13 years. So we've got a lot of Google authority. But if links become less important, how do you actually then define search authority? And because ChatGPT doesn't use links at the moment, whereas I think Bing is trying to plug that tension between just long form content that's scraped across the web and then produce a link that actually then verifies that content, because ChatGPT at the moment does not produce links.
Right. So tracking is going to be basically impossible, and verifying information is going to be really hard. So there's two other business problems we got to go solve.
Yeah. And the other thing too, which is really fascinating, is that Getty Images and others have taken some of these generative AI image tools to court, because they're saying you've scraped our images and you just turn them into something else. But the source and the foundation of the image scraping is our images. That's going to be a very interesting court case that's going to emerge in the next few months.
Yeah, a lot of those will define the future, really, because I mean, every single AI generation is supposed to be unique, right? So it's not supposed to have like copyright, but then you go do things similar to it. What is the line, and how do you even decide?
Yeah, so it's that is going to be very interesting. And then you're going to have judges trying to make decisions on that who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s maybe, and don't even use technology much. How do they make smart decisions? Well, I suppose they've been around a while, but it's going to be very interesting to see how that tension plays out as well, with old school thinking meeting new school thinking and creation, which is where we play.
We've seen a little bit of that in the recent crypto arena over the past couple of years.
Yeah,
and how that plays out.
Yeah, I know, because there's always this lag between law and prudence over the market just plows ahead. It takes years for the market to catch up, and even Uber leaned into that, going, we're just going to go in and break laws and do stuff. And so by the time the laws were enacted, Uber had actually had global domination, basically. So they haven't made any money yet, but that's another thing. So, but yeah, you're playing in a very exciting space, and you must almost be salivating every day in terms of what is coming out from your team. And so what excites you most about this new future with AI?
It is so fast moving. Like, you asked me, I came from 13 years at a large company to joining a startup. It is so much fun and crazy how much you can, just trying to ingest the data every morning of like, what is going on, like reading all these new technologies being invented. I mean, one of the most exciting things for me is it's going to just keep getting smarter and like reading your brain even, and then being able to design things off your brain. I mean, how many years away are we from that? Probably not too far. Just the race right now is extremely exciting, and being in a place where you can really make an impact and move very, very quickly, because it's a race. And that's what excites me. Yeah.
I've just been reading a book, a book by Nick Bostrom, who wrote a book called Superintelligence back in 2014-15. And it is just fascinating to have a look at. And one of the things he mentioned that's important in terms of this race and the revolution, we're not talking evolution here, we're talking revolution. It's happening that quickly. Social media was a slow burn compared to this. This is like a forest fire. And Nick Bostrom talked about the fact that computing power is one of the things that is being brought to bear, because the more data you got and the more processing power you got, and that comes down to budget. And Microsoft, most of its 10 billion investment in OpenAI is actually giving it access to its data centers and computing power and crunching. So the thing that fascinates me, and I'd be interested in, it's got completely nothing to do with it and everything to do with it, is we're seeing the rise and development of quantum computing. I think the intersection of that technology with AI technology is where it's going to get really, really exciting, because there was a test the other day done with quantum computers that they were able to do in 30 seconds what would take them 2,000 years on a normal computer. That's to give you some aspect of how powerful they are. The problem with quantum computing is they've got to be very cold. They can go a bit crazy if they don't. But quantum computing isn't there yet. But once that's nuts cracked and that intersects with AI.
Can you imagine? Is that where we're getting artificial superintelligence? But they say that's many years out. So, but that starts to get. But
that's where we reach a tipping point where we get recursive learning, reiterative, which actually the intelligence now, and they've got so much processing power that's learning on learning, but it's done at light speed in quantum computing, for example. So, I'm sort of excited and sort of scared all at the same time. But yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah, we're thinking about all that right now. We're looking more at the 2-year timeline. Right? We're looking long term too, but we're looking at how fast we can move right now on what we're building today. So,
yeah. So, are you using generative AI to make business decisions as well? So in other words, are you plugging stuff in and just seeing where that leads? Is because number one, you're using it to generate creative content that is successful, both visual as well as text. Are you using it to make business decisions at all? I suppose you are, in terms of you using the data to learn. But where's your decision making with AI as well? I'd be intrigued by that.
We are using a lot of different things, like within our database, like our customer relationship management, running different types of analysis that can help predict who's a good customer to sell to. There's one example that we're using. A second is smart lead routing. It keeps getting better and better. Like we've figured out this process of where you can go route leads based on customer criteria, a number of the different ones. So little things like that is we're automating AI. And then the third one, I mean, with business decisions is we're using our own product, and that's leading to all our growth. So you could say that's our biggest growth lever by far. And coming from the direct side, this is just crazy to see how valuable. Some people are against this, but if you build the different channels the right way, plus digital, you are bringing so much awareness to your company. And as you develop your product, it is just crazy. Like the amount of leads we have coming to us and now figuring out how to optimize them. Like you said, timing.
Yeah, exactly. So can you reveal sort of what your growth is at the moment in terms of lead gen and sales, if you can reveal any of that? Or...
We are growing about 3 times year over year right now. And that's the goal, to continue that. And then our leads are around 400 leads a month right now,
right,
which is considerable. And then we're figuring out it's a lot. There's another way to use AI is we're figuring out where to build our product, like you were saying, about which customers based on who's coming to us. That's another way you can help find product market fit.
Yeah. And that raises nothing in thinking about this too, in terms of there are a lot of marketing automation platforms out there. And, they've been around quite a long time now. There's like, for example, HubSpot, which is an American company based out of Boston. Right. So is there any thoughts in terms of plugging into their platforms and white labeling?
Yeah, we have a lot of ideas on where we're going to go next to build out the partnerships. Right now, it's primarily focused on the platforms, because the fact it's anonymized data, and once you start getting access to those other sources of data, regulation becomes much different. So we're working through a lot of that, and then figuring out like which ones, like HubSpot is a perfect partner, because it's data you have access to. Yeah, targeting, retargeting, taking data into HubSpot, bringing data out to go retarget. So trust me, we're definitely thinking about that, and we know how to use it internally. We know that there's some challenges to some of those integrations.
Yeah, because it's almost like every rabbit hole you can go down, you can do something, isn't it? So I suppose your biggest challenge would be priorities.
Right. Yeah. That was the biggest thing as a co-founder at a startup, is every day you wake up and you're like, there's so many things you can do. I need an extra day in a day, really. And you're like, what is the number one priority that can help us today? And the rest of stuff kind of has to go on the back burner. It's like a lot of critical decision-making every single day of what to focus on.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, and the thing that I think about too, is that the world's continuing more and more is to be run by bots. Okay. Automation. Then you're trying to work out what's real and what isn't real. And then the crowd throws up their hand and saying, oh my God, we've got some fake followers on Twitter. You're like, really? Okay, that's been happening for the last 10, 12 years. It doesn't matter what you do. And guess what? That provides social proof as well. So it's really interesting I remember when I started using an automation tool to actually follow people so they'd follow me back. I got banned from Twitter for a day. I was horrified. And also my followers were horrified. But how dare you use automation to actually on social media? And went, so you're going to sit there every day and tweet manually, are you? Thank you very much. And that was a big thing 12 years ago in social media, is that it was a human social global digital network. And you were screamed at if you used automation and bots. And some of them were very raw back then. So we're leaning into some really unfamiliar territory again, and this is going to be, I haven't been this excited standing up for about a decade or so. So
you got to be smart. That's one of the biggest things we've been learning through all this, is how to filter out that rubbish that's coming, that's coming. And you can figure it out. Like we've gotten really good at blocking certain domains in different areas to figure out how to get those to stop coming in.
Yeah, and I get bots hitting my contact form on my website, which fills up my lead gen. Because once you start getting a reasonable size and reasonable traffic and authority and get noticed, you then become a target because,
Right.
the bad actors are out there chasing you down because they're going, what can I discover by, automating a bot on your contact form, for example. So I think that the challenge for all of us is, especially at the pace of change that's happening with AI, that is filtering to every corner of business. What's your priorities? And I think that's the biggest thing. So, look, we can go on this forever, so we're over time, but just let's wrap it up. In terms of where you're playing, number one, what are some tips for other startups that you've learned along the way? And I know it hasn't been long for you, but what were some top tips you would say to other startup entrepreneurs or people who want to start a side hustle, whatever? What's some of the things you've learned along the way as an entrepreneur? And also give us some ideas what you've learned along the way.
Yeah, one of the biggest things is like you mentioned, is focus. So it's easy to not be focused on who you need to sell to. So the quicker you can define who is your best customer set, and then like build your product towards that, is probably one of the best ones that I saw. And then second is be very, very dynamic in how you price and how you do these different things, because you can learn so much at an early stage company. And then for me, this is definitely the biggest one, is I met with 10 customers plus a day for a year. And, I hadn't been selling in years. I'd been leading organizations, and it's kind of hard to go back to that sales step, but you learn so much about the market, meeting fantastic individuals that are running companies, telling you about what they need. That was the most instrumental thing. I'm still running a lot of sales calls right now, but you learn so much about the market and the product that I think as starting your own company, you can never let that go.
No. Well, it's iterative learning, isn't it? And the market teaches you. You can have the best business plan in the world, but the market will hit you in the face with reality, and it can be just thrown out the window. You've got to tear it up and start again. So what's the sort of, for our listeners, what's the sort of price point you guys start at in terms of your product?
We started around $2,000 a month. And that is full service for one platform, and then it increases based on the number of platforms. I mentioned one platform would be like Meta, Instagram, or TikTok.
Right.
And then our new pricing plan in the next 90 days will be a self-service that will be like an annual platform fee where you can create your own ads. That will run about $2,500 a year, roughly.
Right. Okay. In other words, the more I suppose entry level product will be about $2,500 a year you're looking at for more the small to medium marketplace.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking when I brought up HubSpot, because their target market is not so much enterprise, it's small to medium businesses. That's why they crossed my mind.
Right.
Anyway, how can we find Omnikey? What's the best place? Maybe we need to spell it.
So go to www.omnikey.com, ONNEKY.com. You can schedule a demo on our website and put that you heard it on the Jeff Bullis show.
Yep.
That would be fantastic. Second, look me up, Matt Swalley on LinkedIn, or email me at Matt, MATT at Omnikey.com, OMNEKY.com.
Great. And just one quick question before we wrap it up. Where did the name come from?
Omnikey?
Yeah.
Oh, so there's a number of different things here. First of all, Omnikey is an anagram for monkey. So if you notice, our logo is a monkey. Right. Second, it has Omni in it. What's Omni means across all platforms, across everything. Third, there's lots of disruptive companies with Omni in them. Omnicom, for example, that we want to disrupt. Okay. And then finally, when you say Omnikey, it makes you smile. That's an old marketing technique that our founder knew, makes you smile. So you're happy.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for sharing your experiences, and we are living in exciting times, and the world's going to look a little different next year and very different in 10 years, I think. And I'm grateful I've got a platform to play. We're very much about content and organic, but I think maybe I need to revisit my digital ad spend strategy. So
we're here for you, Jeff.
Yeah, so maybe we need to chat. Anyway, And that's not ChatGPT. So, all right. Thanks, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and look forward to catching up in real life someday when I visit America. So thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It's been a pleasure.